We have presenters from 4 companies: Microsoft, PayPal, Facebook, and Google. And we're going to have a discussion about preventing abuse on platforms. The way this is going to go down is that each of the speakers will introduce himself or herself. A couple of our speakers have a couple of slides that they are going to present and talk to. And once they've done that, then we will be open for questions to them. Please post your questions in the chat. I'll keep an eye on them, and we hope to have a productive conversation. I'll let the speakers introduce themselves, but Maria is going to begin. Then it will be Brad, Bobby, and Evan. So Maria.
Hello, everyone. Can you see me and can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I can't see myself, so that's why I'm a little bit curious about this. Let's see if I can also share my screen and the slides that I promised to share with you. Let's see that. Why is this now? Okay. Now I think I'm there. Just one second. And what I will do here is this. Okay.
We do not see your screen yet, Maria.
Just one second. I think I'm. Can you see this?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Now I put it in the, let's see, presentation mode. And then I hide this. And then if you can hear me, I'm ready to go.
You're ready to go.
First of all, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to join this discussion. And I'm really pleased to share with you some information about Microsoft's efforts in this field. And also I thought that it would be nice to introduce our digital crimes unit that I'm not sure everybody knows about. As you know, there are many security teams at Microsoft, and we have this very vigorous and fairly small team that is focused on fighting cybercrime. And I lead the team in EMEA. I'm an attorney. We are in total 21 people in the EMEA team. Globally, we're about 100 people. And our mission that you can see on the screen is really to fight cybercrime, to protect our customers. And obviously, I think every single company in the world these days is in the business of promoting trust and creating trust. And especially in our fight against cybercrime that requires a lot of collaboration, trust is really key. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the work that we do. So basically, Microsoft DCU is primarily, I would say, focused on disrupting and deter different forms of cybercrime. And how we do that through technical collaboration and disruption actions, through voluntary work with a number of players, key stakeholders, especially the ones that are maintaining the digital infrastructure. So we're working with them. We're filing civil claims in this area, and of course we're working closely with law enforcement through criminal referrals that we file after our investigations. And in the field of protecting customers, the best thing that we can get out of our investigations is really that we try to use the evidence that that we have to obviously improve the security of our products and services, which makes it much easier for the consumers as well as for the businesses to protect themselves against these growing threats. And another area where we are active is that when we are working, I mean, we're like, I would say that we're kind of like the internal the police squad within Microsoft that has an external focus to protect customers. What we learn in our practical work we want to also share with the lawmakers, policymakers, internally and externally, to create partnerships and participate in education campaigns to advance the protection globally. I wanted to also share with you the very timely, because we just on October 7th, we published the Microsoft Digital Defense Report that you might be aware of. If you are not, I would say that this is now the most comprehensive view into the ecosystem that Microsoft holds and maintains and has, based on all the intelligence that we have in this space regarding the security environment that we are all in. Of course, we have hundreds, over 200 cloud services that we offer to our customers. We have billions of customers. So through that, we are now daily getting over 24 trillion security signals that add onto our threat intelligence. And of course, combined with the AI and machine learning advancements, we are using these signals to improve the security of our products and services. In the process, of course, there is not only the AI-powered predictions that we use, but also the human analysts and the expertise and insights coming in actually from over 8,500, experts that are working in this field. So with this, we are blocking a lot of the threats already, over 9 billion endpoint threats, 31 billion identity threats, and 32 billion email threats are blocked already by our systems. And in this report, we are now combining, DCU is one of the contributors, especially into the area of cybercrime, which I feel is the most appropriate topic for this audience when we're talking about online scams. At the same time, I wanted to share with you some of the key trends in this field that are impacting our work. So basically, the growing threat of cybercrime that I understand we have been discussing in all forums is something that I guess the global pandemic kind of put on steroids. So governments these days, they are increasingly seeing this as a threat to national security, which in fact is a good thing in terms of boosting the work on the legal side, on the legislative side, as well as putting enough resources into these issues. Cyber criminals are definitely creative. We are no longer going after individual attackers. We are going after a mature industry, and they are attacking all sectors. Ransomware attacks are probably the ones that are growing most rapidly for the moment, together with the phishing. But these are only, when we think of the ways the attack vectors, they can vary, and phishing probably being the most common. But in the end, these cyber criminals, they're becoming much more smart, meaning we can't really divide what is a scam, what is a botnet operation, where do we talk about business email compromise. It all kind of molds together. These are really, really sophisticated groups that have different roles for different people. This is really an economy, cybercrime economy, and big business. So definitely the positive trends are that the governments and companies are coming forward. There is more reporting, there is more collaboration in this field, but there is still a lot of need for more. DCU's focus in this area is definitely in taking down or disrupting that criminal infrastructure. We continue to work with law enforcement in going after the bad guys and sharing our intelligence that we gain from our investigations effectively with them. But that's an area that law enforcement plays a critical role. In regard to the capabilities, as the advancements of the technology, they benefit both victims, but at the same time also the bad guys. We definitely, as said, we put our minds into using any vulnerabilities that we identify in our investigations to further improve our products. And then, regarding the victim, this is really, we are partnering with a number of cybercrime victim advocacy groups to help in that area. But primarily, our opportunity is really focused on taking down and ripping apart those, be it physical or logical communication structures that the criminals use in advancing their attacks. So this is
Maria?
basically the story that I had. So
okay, you were wrapping up. I was going to suggest that we move on to our next speaker.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Brad?
Yeah, thank you so much for introducing that. I think it definitely gives some good talking points for me. So my name is Brad Wardman, and I'm the head of threat management at PayPal, but I'm also board of director for the Anti-Phishing Working Group. So I spend a lot of time looking into the scam space. I think, some of the things that was brought up on the slides is really relevant, which is, you look at right now the scalability of cybercrime and scams. It's really being enabled by lots of different groups having, service offerings and tools that are available to them to be able to, maybe they don't have the technical know-how to do certain parts of the scam. Now they can buy into these services. I think that, the call to arms for me is really, we are doing a good job as an industry trying to attack that infrastructure problem. The only problem that we have, though, is that infrastructure is cheap, readily available, and now you have specialists that are aiming to bypass controls and opportunities that we put in place to stop those. So I'm really glad to be here with this panel. I'm also glad to be here with the conference because there's been a lot of interesting perspectives. A lot of people have, brought in pieces of the puzzle that are trying to address some of these issues that scammers are, what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve. The one thing that I would just call out is I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to band together better and to work together, similar to what we saw with the DCU slides, where we saw that different criminal groups or different parts of the attack infrastructure is working together. We as an industry have to work together. I think if you look at a typical scam, you see that multiple organizations are being involved in that. And we've got to break down those barriers and not put all of the onus on a singular entity to go solve these problems. We've got to figure out ways to have better exchanges, to work together, to create communities where we can work together across the different parts of the industry to address these problems, rather than expecting that each one of those individual organizations can handle the whole problem to themselves. In some cases, you can, but in other cases, it's much more complex than that. And so, the one thing I would just throw out there as part of discussion here is really, how do we start working and operating better? We look over at things like the anti-phishing community that has been, there's a multiple organizations out there for 20 years been working together. How do we start making scams more into that type of environment where we've got groups working together, setting up taxonomies, and really partnering to share data and address these issues? So I'll turn it back over to you, Phil.
Thanks, Brad. Bob and Evan, and Yori has let me know that he would like to wrap this up by 11:45. So, Evan, when you get to your slides, you can do briskly. And folks, please post questions that you have for the panelists in the chat. We'll try to get to them.
Hi there. I'm Bobby Flame. I work at Facebook. I'm head of strategic programs, which is part of our legal division, but in particular, we focus on brand enforcement. And I've been given the remit to work on our off-platform phishing program. So we have worked a lot with the Anti-Phishing Working Group. We share all the information that we have as a target of phishing. We work with a lot of other groups, and we're looking to be, very cooperative. Greg Aaron, who is with Inter-Isle, who you saw previously, Inter-Isle came out with a great phishing report earlier this year that showed that Facebook, 3 out of our brands, meaning Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, were in the top 10 of all the phishing targets throughout the world. So obviously phishing is a big issue for us, and we are looking to see how we can mitigate that. One of the things we obviously do is, the day-to-day takedowns, but we realize that that's a whack-a-mole strategy, and we are trying very hard to be more strategic. And what we mean by more strategic is we are trying to work with hosting providers, registrars, registries, to see how we can find the sources of the phishing, because that is kind of our biggest problem. We are looking, as Foy said at the beginning of this discussion or today's conference, how do we go to the sources? How do we go to the networks? Maria from Microsoft was talking a lot about that as well. So we have trying to focus on that, see how we can work more effectively with industry. We are trying to reach out, not only with such groups as the Anti-Phishing Working Group and MOG, but also individual groups as well, such as Microsoft, such as Cloudflare, and others, to see how we can be more proactive. And that is kind of what we are trying to focus on. Insofar as Facebook, I know that throughout the courses of this conversation, Facebook has come up insofar as social media and advertising. But one of the things that my particular interest and my particular focus has been phishing, but we are looking to see how we can be more proactive in general. And then we can hope to go from there. So I just wanted to kind of introduce myself and just kind of give a very general overview of what we are trying to do at Facebook. Insofar as phishing, we look to expand further from there, and look forward to working with all of you. So thank you.
Thanks, Bobby. Evan, you can wrap it up quickly, please.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I just have a few slides to guide the way. Give me one moment as I do that. Okay, so hi everyone. Nice to meet everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Evan. I'm representing Google and Google Safe Browsing and Web Risk, to be specific. So to just give everyone a little bit of background about what Google Safe Browsing is and the underlying technology, it was essentially created in 2007 in order to make the internet safer, right? So Google has a responsibility with Google Search, being one-on-one with the internet and delivering a ton of ads. We have to make that when people are searching within Google, we want to make sure that it's as safe as possible for as many people as possible, right? There's billions of users on Chrome and more than that who use Google Search. So we really feel like we have a responsibility to do so. So in 2007, we actually created what we call Google Safe Browsing. And at the time, it was a small team. And the mission was very simple. It was to scan the internet as best as we possibly could and dive in and try to look for different threats, mostly related to phishing at the time. And so, generally, we have evolved a lot since launching that team in 2007. And so, we're using lots of different technologies to do so, classifiers, machine learning, computer vision to understand what we're looking at. And today we're actually looking at over 1 billion different URLs every single day. And the goal here is really not just to protect our Google users, but to find out what is unsafe around the internet and share that with as many people as possible. So you guys have likely seen a big red screen when you attempted to navigate to a page that was not safe. Now we're actually sharing that data with a number of different companies and different platforms. And so if you've ever used Safari or Firefox or 3 out of the top 5 social media companies, they're actually integrating this data that we provide into their platforms. And that's really where we think we can make the most impact going forward, is going beyond the Google universe and moving on into what these platforms today. Facebook has billions and billions of users, right? And so that's another way that we think we can actually have a pretty big impact. Another thing that I wanted to talk about today is not just what we're doing, but what you guys can actually do to help. In blue there is, with your help, and we really mean that. So essentially, there's way more good guys and gals in cybersecurity than there are bad guys and gals, in my opinion. And so information sharing, I think, is paramount. There's a bunch of different groups that share, but I think that if we come together a little bit more, we'll actually be able to have a big impact on the amount of people that are actually getting phished. And so we do have a program that allows you to submit data to Google in order to know, hey, this is confirmed phishing, this is a scam, in order for us to show one of these warnings, right? And when this warning gets blasted out, it gets blasted out to over 4 billion devices. And so that's very big, right? That's over half of the world's online population right there. And so, would love for folks to take me up on the offer of actually being able to kind of enter this program. I can send out a link in the chat if anyone's interested, in order to have this much of an impact, right? So whenever anyone sees this website here and you see this big red scary stop sign screen, barely anyone continues to go on. And so you can really make a huge impact at actually having people not get phished, not get scammed when you do submit data to this particular service. And there's also a way for you to integrate the underlying data of this service in your platform if you happen to have a platform, or even if you just run a security operations center or work in one, you can use this data that we have. We have a few different APIs here. And we can talk about this offline as well. If anyone has questions, feel free to contact me directly. But essentially, you have a way to get this list of URLs that we have and implement them into your platform. You also have a way to use a different technology that we use to check a reputation of a site. And then you have the option to actually submit data to Google in order to get this stuff off of the web as quickly as possible and protect as many users as possible. So if anyone's interested, feel free to ping me offline. My email is right there. I'll also put it in the chat. And I want to make sure that you guys have access to the link where you can apply to actually start sending data to us or consuming data. But thank you everyone for the opportunity to speak to you guys today, and hope everyone is having a good one and continues to fight the good fight.
Thanks very much. So it seems like many of you have identified collaboration and information sharing as a key component to what needs to happen. What's the biggest obstacle to doing that today for any of our panelists?
I'll jump in. I think that, depending on the type of scam, I think we've got really good data sharing rails. There's a number of APIs that have been built out over the years to share, links related to malware and related to phishing. I think something that I referred to earlier is the lack of taxonomy around different types of scams. So some of the different scams, and depending on jurisdiction, may or may not be considered illegal or may not be considered something that needs to be blocked. And so that's where you have a lot of issues, I feel like. I think that we need to come together and figure out how to identify this and be much more thorough as an ecosystem. And then I think we can start addressing some of these types of attacks a little bit better. But I think that, again, back to like phishing and malware, I think that we've got great rails. The Google Safe Browsing API is excellent. Microsoft has an excellent one with their Edge browser. And I think that we just need to figure out how to scale that out so we have better ways to share that abuse, because it's not just phishing and malware that's affecting based on the presentations I've seen today.
Cool. Any of our other panelists have anything to add to what Brad said?
I might say that the biggest challenge in this area really has been the data privacy. Data privacy laws. A lot of the times, even if we're sharing information about the scammers, or you would feel that would be okay. The truth is, personal data is many times involved, and that makes it complex because we need to be incredibly careful, obviously, not to break any policies or laws in this process. So figuring out how to do that in a way that is compliant and speedy at the same time, because cybercrime, these criminals, they're fast. Money moves fast, things happen fast, and cybercrime doesn't know borders, between countries. So that is, in my view, a lot of the times an issue that we tackle when we try to go after these bad guys and the scams in general.
Cool. I think Bobby wants to say something here too.
Yeah, no, very quickly. The only thing I wanted to add is kind of the data sharing. Facebook has been a huge victim, and the idea that we've seen a lot of times when we're the victims, other companies, other folks across the globe are also victims of the same scammers or phishers. So just trying to ensure that we are data sharing with the appropriate people to see, who the actual perpetrators are is also a big challenge and something we're trying to focus in on as well.
Cool. Well, I think, Yori, that this will wrap this up, and we'll hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, Phil, and thank you very much to our panelists. I agree that I think we all agree that we have to share more data. And I'm Dutch. I'm from the EU, and I think the GDPR legislation has been our worst export product ever. But maybe it's something we can also work together on, because I do not think that the GDPR legislation should be an excuse to not share data, and we should work together with the governments and the politicians to change this legislation. And it's already changing, but I do think we have to work more together to change this.